So let's talk about what those mindsets are. Let's get into the specifics. Some of these mindsets are going to be something that you're predisposed to. And if you do, that's awesome. The more that you already have of this built into your character, the better suited you are to building wealth. In fact, some people who kind of stumble their way towards wealth without having any of the advantages maybe just have a lot of these, parts of their character predisposed. They're already there. But if you don't have them, again, it's not the worst thing in the world. If you don't have these attributes, they can be cultivated, they can be improved. But if you don't have them, it is going to take more work. The less of these attributes that you have, the harder it will be to get there. So these three things that we're going to talk about today are one, discipline, wisdom, and attitude. Those are the three attributes that we're going to talk about, the three mindsets. So the very first one, discipline, is perhaps the most important one. Self-discipline specifically. And there's a book out there, and I'll reference books as we go through this, and some of them are better than others. And I will say that almost every book you read on financial education, the good ones at least, most of it's going to be good, but there's some things you can give or take. And so this book I'm going to reference here in a minute, I think had a lot of good things, and it helps a lot of people. There's some things I didn't necessarily agree with. But one of the big things, and what made a lot of sense to me, and a big part of putting this program together, was from this author. And he said in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the more famous books out there for people trying to gain wealth. He goes so far as to say that self-discipline is the number one delineating factor between the wealth classes, meaning people who have and people who have not. And if you can't master self-discipline, you aren't going to be financially sound. As simple as that. So again, everything else that we're doing kind of doesn't matter if you can't master self-discipline. Unfortunately, and this is the hard part, it's also the hardest thing to teach yourself if you don't have self-discipline. If it's already not a part of your makeup, it's tough to work it in so that it becomes a part of your makeup. But let's talk about, what does that discipline actually look like? When I'm saying discipline, that might not really mean anything to you without thinking about actual physical things. So let's talk about that. First of all, discipline looks like planning. I want you guys to plan, don't play. Spend time planning instead of playing. And that looks like educating yourself, for example. Reading a book, studying the stock market, taking courses. And I don't mean right now. I mean, that might sound really boring to an 11-year-old. But at some point, as you're starting to move forward in your life and you start realizing how important finances are to you, taking the time to educate yourself. And it doesn't mean like that's all you get to do. I mean, when I say plan, don't play, it doesn't mean never play. It just means put planning in your life as well. It also means looking out for opportunities. Looking for ways in which, again, if you're studying the market, if you're educating yourself, you start to recognize what an opportunity is and seeing things where you can make money. It also means putting time into your work, into your business, whatever you're doing to generate income for yourself, whether it's working for somebody else or working for yourself. But I guess the gist of this is get off the couch. You can't just sit there and watch Netflix and then hope that you're going to be disciplined. Actually get out there and work at it. Another part of discipline is taking the long view. So we talked, originally the first section we did was talking about goals. Like how are you going to get to a certain place? Well, the next step of that goal is to keep that in mind as you make your decisions in life. Like, that's my goal. I want to get to there. And in order to do that, there's certain things that I need to do consistently, month after month, every year till I get to that point. So always be thinking about the future, maintain progress towards that official plan. Another part of discipline is upkeep. You can help maintain that focus by regularly tracking your progress. So I think it's the next maybe 2 sections down, we're going to start, 2 more sections, we're going to talk about budgeting, where we'll break down a spreadsheet or an app or whatever you guys want to use for tracking your progress. How much money did you save? How much money did you spend? Tracking that kind of stuff. The fourth part of it is you need to be dedicated. And what I mean by dedicated is you have to want it. If you talk about and you write down a goal today and you don't really care about that goal, it doesn't really mean anything to you, and you don't really want it, what's going to drive you towards that? Why would you even care about doing that if it's not something that you kind of internalize and say, yeah, that's actually where I want to go? If we just write it down, it's like, it's just some dumb thing that Dad's making me do. So I can't put that in you. I can't make you guys want to want something. You have to want it yourself. So basically, You have to want it, and then on top of that, you have to be consistent. You actually have to do things to get towards it. Your goal is not just thought. It's not just to be like, I think people do this a lot of time, and we mentioned, I think in the last course as well, is that, oh, I want to be a millionaire, so I want to be rich. That's my dream. Perfect. But if you just keep dreaming that, and like, oh yeah, maybe one day I'll open up a business, maybe one day I'll do this. That's all daydreaming. That doesn't really mean anything. Your goal is not just a daydream. It's not just thought. It's completing a series of consistent actions. It's saying, that's my goal, and here's the things I'm going to do on a regular basis to get to that goal.